Imagine a life where distractions pass like clouds, where your focus is sharp like a blade, where you don't need to force discipline because it flows through you, where your actions aren't delayed by doubt, but driven by a fire that never goes out. I wasn't born with that kind of discipline. I forged it through repetition, through discomfort, through war with my weaker self. People look at me now and say, "Bruce, you're special. You were born different." And I tell them this. Number, I was born undisciplined like everyone else. But I didn't stay that way. You see, talent fades, inspiration fades, but habits carve your destiny. I built habits that rewired my mind, that silenced excuses and awakened precision, not with luck, not with comfort, but with intention. Let me take you inside the mindset, inside the system. That transformed a reckless fighter into a master of self, not overnight, but for life. 1. Command the first hour of the day. Discipline doesn't start when the sun rises for the world. It starts before that, in silence, when no one is watching. The first hour of your day is sacred. It's when your mind is most pure. Untouched by noise, unbothered by opinions, free from distractions. It's the moment when your brain is most sensitive, most programmable. What you do in that window shapes how the rest of your day unfolds. When I was training, I didn't grab my phone. I didn't scroll. I didn't delay. I got up, I moved, I breathed, I trained. No debate, no excuse, just action. That first hour was my foundation, because if I started the day in strength, the rest followed with power. But if I began with weakness, laziness, hesitation, mindless comfort, then that weakness followed me like a shadow. You must learn this. If you control the morning, you control your energy, you control your mindset, and you control your outcomes. Even 5 minutes of focused movement, breath work, meditation, or writing can shift your entire mental state. It's not about how long, it's about how intentional. Discipline is not built during the day. It's installed in the morning. So the question is, when you open your eyes tomorrow, what will you reach for first? Comfort or greatness? Attach pain to inaction. Most people only move when it feels good. They wait for the perfect mood, the perfect timing, the perfect motivation. But that's weakness in disguise. Discipline isn't about waiting. It's about wiring your brain to act, especially when it's hard. You want to change your life? Stop attaching pain to effort. Start attaching pain to inaction. When I was younger, skipping a day of training didn't just mean I lost time. It meant I betrayed the future version of myself. It meant I stayed stuck while others moved forward. And that feeling, it burned. So I trained my brain to associate laziness with regret, to feel guilt not for pushing hard, but for doing nothing. You must flip the equation. Don't fear discomfort, fear staying the same. Every time you skip a workout, delay your goals, or choose pleasure over purpose, ask yourself, what is this costing me? Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. What version of you are you sacrificing every time you say later? The truth is, comfort feels good now, but it steals from your future. Discipline hurts now, but it builds a version of you that is powerful, respected, and unshakable. I didn't become Bruce Lee because I loved hard work. I became Bruce Lee because I couldn't stand being average. So make this your habit. Every time you want to quit, visualize the pain of staying stuck. Feel it, let it burn, and let that fire push you forward. Don't just run towards success. Run away from the pain of staying ordinary. Practice silence daily. In a world that's always shouting, the quietest person often holds the most power. You think strength is loud. You think discipline is noise, sweat, chaos. Number, discipline begins in silence. Every day I carved out time, not for training, not for performance, but for stillness. I would sit alone, no music, no phone, no noise, just breathe, just awareness. And you know what I found? I found the voice in my head that doubted me. The voice that wanted to quit. The one that feared failure, rejection, and discomfort. Most people run from that voice. They drown it in distractions. They scroll, they eat, they talk, they stay busy to avoid meeting themselves. But I did the opposite. I sat with it, I listened, I studied it, and slowly I tamed it. Because when you can sit in silence and not be controlled by your thoughts, you become a master of yourself. That's why monks are powerful. That's why warriors meditate. Stillness is not weakness. Stillness is control. In silence, you begin to understand your patterns, your fears, your habits, your excuses. You begin to notice how your mind works. And once you understand the machine, you can reprogram it. So make this a habit. At least once a day, unplug from everything. Just you, your breath, and your awareness. No need to chant, no need to impress.
Just be still, just observe, just feel what's happening inside.
You'll start to hear the truth beneath the noise.
And that truth will give you power that no one can see.
But everyone will feel. Discipline starts in the mind. Silence is where the sharpening begins. Train when you don't want to. Every champion knows the real battle isn't against your opponent. It's against your own resistance. There were days when my body screamed for rest. Muscles aching, joints stiff, spirit low. Every fiber of me wanted comfort, wanted to quit. But I learned something crucial. Discipline isn't born from comfort. It's forged in defiance of it. When motivation runs dry, when the spark fades, that's your moment of truth. Will you obey the whisper of weakness or the roar of your higher self? I made it a rule. If I ever felt too tired, too sore, or too unmotivated, that was exactly the day I would train hardest. Imagine it's 5 a.m., it's cold, your alarm slices the darkness. Your brain begs you, stay under the covers, but you stand. You lace your shoes. You step into the chill. With each step, you're telling your brain, I am stronger than my excuses. Each rep, each breath, each drop of sweat rewrites the script in your head. No matter how I feel, I act anyway. This habit does more than build muscle. It builds unbreakable resolve, because your mind learns discomfort is temporary, but pride endures. When you train on the days you least want to, you teach your brain, I don't need to feel ready to be ready. You dismantle the illusion that you must be perfect before you begin. Those painful mornings and grueling sessions become your edge. They become the moments you look forward to. Proof you can conquer more than any opponent. So here's your challenge. Tomorrow, pick the time you'll least want to train. Mark it. Commit to it. When the moment comes, face it head on. Because every time you show up for yourself, especially when you don't want to, you rewire your brain to believe in your own power. That's how discipline becomes unstoppable. Not on the days you feel good, but on the days you feel like giving up. Master the micro moment. Discipline isn't built in grand gestures or sweeping victories. It's forged in the smallest choices you make, second by second. Every time your alarm rings, every time your hand hovers over the snooze button, every time you debate between comfort and action, you stand at a crossroads that defines who you are. Those fleeting instants, when you could give in but choose to stand firm, are the true battlegrounds of self-mastery. Imagine a bamboo shoot bending in the wind but never breaking. That's you when you learn to harness the power of each passing moment. In my own journey, I discovered that success is not a destination reached by one colossal leap, but by 1,000,000 tiny steps, each as critical as the next. When I practiced my punches, I didn't worry about the final form of my 100th strike. I focused on the precision, the breathing, and the intention behind each movement. That singular moment of focus, muscle, mind, and breath unified, was where transformation occurred. Over time, those micro moments accumulated until the action became instinct, the habit became character, and the discipline became my nature. To master the micro moment, begin by cultivating awareness. Notice the split-second thoughts racing through your mind whenever you face a choice. One more hour of sleep, one more bite of junk, one more excuse. Acknowledge them without judgment, then decide. Do you yield or do you advance? This is not a lecture, it is a mirror. Your brain craves shortcuts. It will trick you into believing that a small compromise is harmless, but every harmless slip widens the gap between who you are and who you intend to be. Next, create immediate anchors for action. If your goal is to rise early, place your alarm across the room so that the act of standing cancels the temptation to surrender. If you're cutting unhealthy snacks, remove them from your sight and keep a water bottle or healthy fruit within arm's reach. These strategic nudges interrupt the default path of least resistance and force your brain into a new micro-decision pathway. Move toward discipline rather than drift into comfort. Of course, awareness and anchors alone are not enough without momentum. Momentum is built in the trigger-action-reward loop. When the trigger, perhaps a cravings pang or the lure of procrastination, arrives, immediately replace that urge with a pre-planned action. For example, when you feel the urge to check your phone first thing in the morning, replace it with 30 seconds of deep, controlled breathing. The reward? A surge of clarity and calm that recalibrates your mental state for the day. Over time, your brain learns to associate that trigger not with distraction, but with deliberate focus. Yet the micro moment extends beyond simple habits. It infiltrates every realm of your life. In conversation, mastery of the micro moment means pausing before responding. Silence is your ally, allowing you to choose words that carry weight. In work, it means deciding to tackle the hardest task first, before comfort and distraction have a chance to take root. In relationships, it means choosing compassion or patience when irritation flares. Each of these tiny choices may seem insignificant in isolation, but they compound exponentially, creating a life governed by intentionality rather than impulse. Bringing intention to these micro moments also demands emotional regulation. When frustration or fear strikes, it happens fast, sometimes in a fraction of a second. If you react instantly, you reinforce impulsive, undisciplined patterns. Instead, train yourself to insert a deliberate pause, a breath, a count to 3, before action. This pause is the space where choice lives, where you can decide to act with integrity rather than succumb to base instinct. I learned this while sparring. When my rival feinted, I resisted the reflex to flinch, held my ground, and that stillness became my strongest defense. Review your micro moments daily. Each evening, reflect on the key decisions you made. When you chose the alarm over the pillow, when you chose healthy fuel over empty calories, when you chose presence over distraction. Celebrate the victories, no matter how small. And for the moments you slipped, don't dwell on failure. Use them as data. Ask yourself, what could I adjust in my environment, my mindset, or my habit triggers to make the disciplined choice easier next time? This reflection sharpens your awareness and arms you with insights to refine your system. Mastering the micro moment is not a one-week challenge, it's a lifetime practice. It's the consistent act of catching yourself in the split second between stimulus and response and choosing the path of growth. Over weeks and months, those choices rewire your neural networks, turning disciplined responses into your new default. You become not a slave to circumstance, but the architect of every instant. And when that happens, you don't just practice discipline, you embody it. Remember, great rivers are formed drop by drop, and great warriors are made moment by moment. Own your micro moments, and you own your destiny. Use rituals, not motivation. Discipline is not an emotion. You cannot summon it at will and hope it carries you through each day. Motivation is a spark, bright, fleeting, and often unreliable. It waxes and wanes with your mood, the weather, or the latest news feed. Rituals, on the other hand, are the bedrock of unbreakable discipline. They are the daily commitments you honor whether you feel inspired or not, and they become the architecture of your life. When I began my journey, I realized very quickly that waiting to feel motivated was a trap. I would wake early with enthusiasm for a week, then slump back into old habits when life's obstacles emerged. So I replaced motivation with ritual, specific actions anchored to a time, place, and sequence that became as natural as breathing. My morning ritual wasn't train if I feel like it. It was get up at 5 a.m., put on my shoes, and move. That sequence happened without thought or debate, and it transformed my entire day. Rituals thrive on consistency, not inspiration. They remove the burden of choice. Imagine if you had to decide every morning whether to brush your teeth. The mental load would be exhausting, yet you brush every day without fail because it's ritualized. That's what discipline looks like. You create an environment and a set of triggers so precise that compliance becomes automatic. Over time, these triggers wire themselves into your subconscious so that your body moves before your mind hesitates. To build a powerful ritual, begin by choosing one small action you can commit to daily. It might be as simple as 5 minutes of stretching before breakfast or writing 3 sentences in a journal. The key is simplicity and consistency, something so easy that you cannot use difficulty as an excuse. Once you master that, layer on the next action. Perhaps 10 push-ups, then 2 minutes of focused breathing. Before long, the ritual grows organically, each step fueling the next, and you are acting out of habit rather than willpower. Environment plays a pivotal role in ritual formation. When I trained, my gym was set up exactly the same way every day. Mat in the center, weights aligned on the rack, mirror polished, no clutter. The moment I entered, my mind recognized the space and shifted into training mode instantly. You must craft your own spaces similarly. If you meditate, dedicate a corner of your room to silence. No phone, no distractions, only your cushion and perhaps a single candle. When you enter that space, your mind knows it's time to focus. Rituals also honor rhythm. Humans are creatures of cycles, circadian, lunar, seasonal. I found that my best training times corresponded with natural energy surges. Mid-morning for explosive work, late afternoon for endurance. Align your rituals with your natural peaks. If you're a night owl, don't force a 5 a.m. routine. Start with a ritual that suits your clan of energy. Later, gently shift your rhythm toward earlier hours. Respect your biology while guiding it toward greater discipline. Accountability magnifies the power of ritual. When I trained with a partner, there was no option to skip. It wasn't just my ritual, it was ours. Knowing someone else counted on me eliminated the maybe I'll do it later voice. You can replicate this by sharing your ritual with a friend, joining a group challenge, or using a habit tracking app that shows your progress publicly. The external commitment reinforces the internal one, transforming solitary ritual into a shared code of honor. Over months and years, rituals evolve. Some outlive their usefulness and must be replaced. Others become so ingrained they require no conscious effort. I still follow rituals I set decades ago, though they've been refined countless times. The rule is simple. If a ritual fuels your growth, keep it. If it stagnates, discard it and design a new one. Your rituals are living tools, not sacred relics. Remember that rituals are sacred agreements with yourself. Breaking them is not a minor slip. It's a rupture in your own code of conduct. When you maintain your rituals, even on days when motivation is absent, you send a clear message to your subconscious: I am in control. That message reverberates in your actions, your confidence, and your identity. You become someone who does what they say they will do, without exception. Make use of rituals, not motivation, to build the unshakable foundation of your discipline. You will not depend on feelings, you will embody structure. And in that structure, you will discover freedom. The freedom to act without hesitation, to pursue greatness without question, and to become the master of your own destiny. Never negotiate with your weak voice.
There's a voice inside all of us, soft, insidious, and relentless. It whispers the easiest path, the painless escape, the half-hearted compromise. It says, just this once. Tomorrow is fine. You deserve a break. That voice is your enemy. It's the chink in your armor, the crack in your resolve, the saboteur of your potential. If you let it speak, you will negotiate away your progress until nothing remains but regret.
I learned this the hard way. Early in my training, I would argue with myself, just 5 more minutes of rest, or 1 cookie won't hurt. Each concession seemed harmless in the moment. But over weeks, those small negotiations created a pattern, a habit of surrender. My body did not regret that skipped workout. My mind did. I felt the weight of every unfulfilled promise I made to myself. That weight built a wall between who I was and who I wanted to become. So I made a decision. I would no longer bargain with my weaker self. Instead of negotiating, I would command. I would identify that voice, confront it, and refuse to respond. When the alarm sounded and the voice said, "Stay down," I rose. When my muscles ached and it pleaded, "Skip today," I pushed through. With each refusal, I taught my brain an essential lesson. I do not negotiate with weakness, I extinguish it. The power of this habit lies in its simplicity. It doesn't require extra time, special equipment, or external support. It requires unwavering commitment to the promise you make each morning. Today, I will not give in. Every decision becomes a test of loyalty to yourself. Will you uphold the agreement you made with your future self, or will you break it for instant comfort? To practice this habit, start by becoming aware of your weak voice. Notice the exact words it uses to tempt you. Does it appeal to your comfort? Does it use guilt or self-pity? Does it promise relief in exchange for surrender? Write down these phrases. Then for each one, create a counter-command, a powerful affirmative statement you repeat instead. For example, weak voice, "You're too tired today." Counter-command, "Strength grows in challenge, I rise." Weak voice, "You can start tomorrow." Counter-command, "Tomorrow is a myth, I act now." Weak voice, "One slip won't matter." Counter-command, "Every slip defines my limits, I stand firm." Memorize these commands. When doubt surfaces, speak them out loud or in your mind. This practice rewires your neural pathways. Instead of defaulting to weakness, you default to strength. Next, set clear, non-negotiable rules for yourself. Decide what actions are absolutely mandatory each day, no exceptions. If your goal is a 30-minute morning workout, mark it on your calendar. Do not allow exceptions for mood drops or minor inconveniences. Treat that block of time as untouchable. If your goal is to write 500 words daily, then designate your writing session as sacrosanct. Keep that appointment with yourself just as you would with a client or a loved one. Accountability magnifies the force of this habit. Share your non-negotiable commitments with someone who demands excellence of you, a friend, mentor, or coach. When you report your actions, you'll feel the weight of your word. You'll learn quickly that skipping the session means more than disappointing yourself. It means failing your ally. That external lever makes your internal discipline more immediate and inevitable. Refusing to negotiate with weakness becomes second nature. You'll notice that the voice still appears, but its power diminishes. You'll feel a spark of pride every time you refuse, and that pride becomes a new source of motivation, one grounded not in fickle emotion, but in the unbreakable habit of self-command. Be mindful of balance. This habit is not about cruelty to yourself. It's about devotion. If you push so hard that you break your body or sanity, you will cultivate resentment. And resentment is fertile ground for the weak voice to grow louder. Instead, differentiate between fear and genuine need for rest. Respect signals from your body and mind that require attention, injury, burnout, or mental exhaustion. In those moments, the command is different. I rest today to return stronger tomorrow. Rest becomes a strategic retreat, not an act of surrender. Honor your victories. At the end of each week, review the moments when you refused negotiation, when you rose early, when you trained through discomfort, When you chose purpose over ease, celebrate those wins. Let them remind you that you are not at the mercy of your impulses. You are their master. These victories accumulate into conviction. You begin to carry yourself with a new posture, upright, unafraid, unwavering. Never negotiating with your weak voice is the ultimate act of warrior discipline. It ensures that every day, every choice, and every moment is aligned with your highest ambitions. The weak voice will never vanish entirely, but it will shrink in influence. You will become a force of intention, a testament to what it means to live without compromise. And in that space, you will discover that the most powerful victories are won not in the ring, but in the silence of your own resolve. Reflect and refine relentlessly. Every warrior knows that true mastery demands more than mere action. It demands honest reflection on that action. Even after you execute the perfect strike, the real work begins when you stand back and ask, what did I learn? How can I improve? Discipline without insight is like chopping wood without sharpening the blade. You expend energy, but you lose effectiveness. To become unstoppable, you must build a habit of relentless reflection, observing your victories and failures with equal clarity, then refining your approach to forge a stronger self. Reflection starts with data, not complex charts or high-tech tools, but simple records of what you've done. For decades, I kept a small, worn notebook by my training mat. Every morning, I jotted down what I practiced. Techniques, rep counts, breath ratios, moments of hesitation, small breakthroughs. Sometimes I recorded my mood, how my body felt, whether I was distracted by external pressures. This wasn't busy work, it was fuel, raw material for my growth. When you capture your actions in real time, you remove memory bias and emotion. You reveal unfiltered truths about your habits, your patterns, and your progress. But data alone isn't enough. You need a process for review. Each week, I would sit in silence, no distractions, and read through my entries. I asked 3 critical questions. What worked well? What broke under pressure? What can I change to bridge the gap between my current self and my highest self? Answering these questions forced me to confront uncomfortable realities. Perhaps I discovered that my breathing faltered when I sparred 2 rounds in a row, indicating a flaw in my endurance training. Or I realized that my mind wandered during certain drills, revealing weak focus habits. Without reflection, these issues would have remained invisible, quietly undermining my efforts. Once I identified areas for improvement, I crafted specific experiments for the following week. If my endurance lagged, I added interval sprints after strength work. If focus waned, I lowered the volume of practice and inserted short periods of meditation. Each experiment had a clear metric: time under tension, number of focused breaths, length of unbroken concentration. These metrics told me whether I was moving forward. You must make reflection a ritual. Just as you schedule training sessions, schedule reflection sessions. Block 30 minutes on your calendar at the end of every week. Treat it as sacred. During that time, eliminate distractions. No phone, no social media, no email. Use that time to read your notes, revisit your goals, and ask yourself the hard questions. Record your conclusions, not just "I need to practice more," but precise actions like increase plank holds by 10 seconds every session, or limit social media use to 10 minutes after dinner. Precision converts insight into action. Reflection also demands truthfulness. It's easy to write, "I did great," when you hit marks. It's far harder to admit, "I skipped my ritual twice because I told myself I deserved rest." But that honesty is invaluable. It shines a light on patterns of self-sabotage and excuse-making. When you confront those patterns in your writing, you strip them of power. They become signals for change rather than silent saboteurs. Another key element is feedback from others. Solo reflection is powerful, but outside perspectives accelerate growth. I invited my students and sparring partners to share observations, moments when my technique faltered or when my presence commanded attention. Their feedback became additional data points, often revealing blind spots I couldn't see. you can do the same. Ask a coach, a friend, or a mentor for honest critique. Incorporate that feedback into your reflection sessions. Treat criticism not as a blow to your ego, but as a gift that guides your refinement. Reflection should also encompass emotional intelligence. Discipline is not just physical, it's mental and emotional. After a hard week, examine how your emotions influenced your choices. Did frustration after a bad session tempt you to quit? Did pride after a win make you complacent? Recognizing these emotional triggers equips you to manage them. You might add a habit of checking in with yourself mid-week, asking, how is my confidence? How is my patience? So that emotional turbulence doesn't derail your discipline. As you refine, remember to celebrate progress. Reflection isn't solely about identifying flaws, it's also about acknowledging growth. When you see that you held a plank 30 seconds longer than 2 weeks ago, recognize that victory. These affirmations fuel your motivation and reinforce the pathway to your goals. You don't need grand celebrations. A quiet nod to yourself in the mirror, a brief journal note of gratitude, or a simple fist pump at the end of your ritual can cement the win. Over months and years, this cycle of action, reflection, and refinement transforms your habits from shallow grooves into deep, unbreakable trenches. You become not just someone who acts with discipline, but someone who learns with discipline, someone who iterates, adapts, and evolves in a feedback loop that propels you forward relentlessly. Embed reflection into every domain of your life. It's not just for training. Reflect on your relationships. Did you listen more than you spoke? Reflect on your work. Did you deliver value before seeking recognition? Reflect on your health. Did you honor your body's needs for rest and nutrition? By applying the same rigor to every area, you ensure that discipline radiates from your training mat into reality. In the end, the warrior's greatest secret is this: your edge is found in your reflection. While others rush into action without pause, you will pause, observe, and sharpen. You will turn your experiences into insights, your failures into experiments, your successes into new benchmarks. That is how you rewire your brain for unstoppable discipline, not only through habits of action, but through the habit of insight. Embrace reflection and refinement, and you will become a master far beyond the physical. You will master yourself, absorb, adapt, and evolve. In the journey of discipline, stagnation is your greatest enemy. You can master every habit, dominate every moment, and command every micro decision. But if you refuse to change, you will wither. Real mastery demands an unbreakable commitment to growth. True discipline is not rigid, it is fluid, like water constantly reshaping itself to conquer new challenges. To rewire your brain for unstoppable discipline, you must make growth your unyielding habit. Absorb what serves you, adapt what challenges you, and evolve beyond what you once believed possible. When I began training under my teacher, I followed his methods to the letter. My punches, my footwork, my breathing, they were all prescribed. Yet as I progressed, I realized that mimicking another's routine could only take me so far. To break through my own limits, I needed to absorb insights from many sources: the grace of a dancer, the precision of a calligrapher, the focus of a monk, and then adapt those principles to my own body, my own context. This process was neither quick nor comfortable. It required humility to admit that I didn't have all the answers, curiosity to study other disciplines, and courage to discard what didn't work for me. But in doing so, I evolved faster and more profoundly than I ever could by following a single path. Absorb. Absorption is more than mere observation. It is active study. When you witness excellence, whether in someone's technique, someone's resilience, or someone's mindset, you must dissect it. Ask, what are the underlying principles at work? How does their posture generate power? How do they maintain calm under pressure? How do they harness emotion to fuel action rather than be consumed by it? Take notes. Record your impressions. Interview mentors. Read texts. Watch demonstrations through a lens of inquiry. Every lesson you encounter is a piece of ammunition in your arsenal. if you truly absorb it. But beware of information overload. Your brain has limited processing capacity. When you chase too many inspirations at once, you dilute your focus and stall your progress. Instead, choose a few high-leverage sources at a time. Maybe this week you dive deep into the physiology of breathing, experimenting with different pranayama techniques. The next, you study the art of visualization, mapping every detail of your rituals. By concentrating your absorption, you allow your mind to integrate principles deeply rather than skim the surface of many. Adapt. Once you've absorbed a lesson, it's time to adapt it to your unique form. Your body, your history, your goals, they are singular. What propelled someone else to greatness may not suit your style or objectives. Adaptation is the art of customization. If you learn a footwork drill that a boxer uses, modify the stance to align with your structure. If a meditation practice enhances a monk's clarity, tailor the length and cadence to match your attention span. If a philosophy ignites a scholar's passion, translate its language into concrete actions for your context. Adaptation also means responding to change. When life disrupts your routines, an injury, a new job, a personal crisis, you must adjust your habits rather than abandon them. If you can't run because of a shin issue, shift to low-impact cardio and focus on upper body strength. If travel upends your sleep, port your morning ritual to the hotel room using bodyweight exercises and breathing drills. Discipline doesn't hinge on perfect circumstances. It depends on your ability to adapt those circumstances to your commitment. The process of adaptation rewires your neural networks. Each time you successfully modify a habit in the face of new conditions, your brain reinforces a connection. I can sustain discipline no matter what. That belief becomes a cornerstone of your identity. Evolve. Evolution is the synthesis of absorption and adaptation over extended time. It is the dramatic leap from who you were to who you can become. Evolution happens when you periodically reassess your goals, your strengths, and your weaknesses, and then redesign your system accordingly. It may involve setting entirely new objectives, such as shifting from martial arts mastery to philosophical teaching. Or it might mean deepening your current pursuits by integrating advanced practices like cold exposure, breath holds, or immersive retreats. To facilitate evolution, schedule regular upgrade sessions. Every quarter or every 6 months, block a day or two to reflect on your progress and redesign your framework. Ask, which habits no longer serve my highest purpose? Which aspects of my system need intensification? How can I incorporate new methods without losing the integrity of the rituals that define me? Use these sessions to craft a fresh roadmap, a refined blend of old strengths and new innovations. Evolution also requires a mindset that cherishes challenge. Growth seldom feels comfortable. When you push your limits, you'll encounter failure. You might falter during a prolonged meditation, choke during a sparring round, or hit mental walls in pursuit of a creative project. Rather than avoid these moments, train yourself to embrace them. See every setback not as proof of deficiency, but as an invitation to evolve. Ask, what did this failure teach me about my technique, my mindset, or my preparation? Then integrate that insight into your revised approach. Practical steps to build this habit. Curate your learning sources. Identify 3 to 5 high-impact experts, texts, or traditions relevant to your goals. Rotate through these sources systematically to avoid distraction. Maintain a lessons journal. Dedicate a section of your notebook to absorbed principles. After each study session, summarize 2 to 3 key takeaways and potential experiments. Design adaptation experiments. Each week, pick one absorbed principle and create a small-scale adaptation trial. Monitor results over 3 to 7 days. Record observations and adjustments. Quarterly evolution workshops. Block time in your calendar every 3 to 6 months for a full review. Use your journal entries to identify patterns of success and stagnation. Draft a refined system for the next phase, then implement immediately. Embrace constructive discomfort. Deliberately incorporate new challenges, learning a language, exploring a new style, or cold water immersion to test and expand your adaptive capacity. The neuroscience behind growth. Your brain thrives on novelty. When you introduce new patterns, new drills in training, new thinking exercises, new environments, your neurons form fresh synaptic connections. This neuroplasticity is most potent when you couple novelty with consistency. By absorbing, adapting, and evolving in a structured way, you generate waves of neural growth that reinforce your discipline network. The result? Greater mental agility, refined focus, and the capacity to persevere under novel pressures. Be water again. Bruce Lee famously said, "Be water, my friend." Now you see why. Water absorbs the shape of any container, adapts to obstacles by flowing around them, and continually renews itself through the cycle of evaporation and condensation. Your discipline must embody the same qualities: openness to new input, flexibility in method, and perpetual growth. As you make absorb, adapt, and evolve your ninth habit, you create an unstoppable feedback loop. You become a student of excellence, a craftsman of your own design, and a perpetual innovator of personal mastery. No external circumstance will derail you, because your system is custom built to bend without breaking and to emerge stronger with every challenge. Embrace this habit fully, and you will not merely practice discipline, you will transcend it, becoming a force of continuous transformation. Your brain will be rewired, not just for adherence, but for creative adaptation. Your life will become a living testament to what is possible when a warrior's mind refuses to remain static. In this state, discipline is not a destination, it is the very essence of your evolution. Now you hold the map to transform yourself from a person who talks about discipline into someone who embodies it. You've seen how to command the first hour to set the tone before the world stirs, attach pain to inaction so comfort no longer seduces you into surrender. Practice silence to master the battlefield of your own mind. Train when you don't want to and turn resistance into your greatest ally. Master the micro moment by winning every split-second choice. Use rituals, not motivation, to remove debate and ensure consistency. Never negotiate with your weak voice, so excuses fall silent under your command. Reflect and refine relentlessly to sharpen every edge with honest insight. Absorb, adapt, and evolve so you never grow stagnant, but rise with each new challenge. These are not just steps on a checklist, they are commands, the code by which you will live. Each habit alone can spark change. Taken together, they become an unstoppable force, rewiring your brain and forging a character that no circumstance can shake. But knowledge alone is not enough. Action is the crucible in which your transformation is forged. So here is my final challenge to you. Choose one habit to implement first. Commit to it today. No excuses. Mark it on your calendar and hold yourself accountable. Review your progress each night and celebrate every small victory. Then layer in the next habit until each one is as natural as breathing. Remember what I once said. Knowing is not enough. We must apply. Willing is not enough. We must do. Now you know, are you willing to do? Stand up. Step forward. Do not wait for permission or perfect conditions. Discipline begins now, in this very breath. Be water, my friend. Flow through these habits, carve your path, and become the person you were meant to be. The world awaits the force you will unleash. Begin.